Manchester United's 1-1 draw with Fulham and then eventual loss on penalties means that Manchester United are out of the FA Cup. It's another one of those afternoons where you think if we'd just taken our chances, we'd still be in the competition, but ultimately we didn't. There were some positives to the performance, but also some real negatives and some real concerns in terms of the tactical setup, but also the players that we've got available at the club at this moment in time. There are issues here, and that is what we are going to be discussing today. Before we get into that, if you could please subscribe to the channel, it would be amazing, and then we'll get into the video. Now, despite the fact that United eventually went out of the competition yesterday, I am going to start off with a positive because I actually thought that United started the game reasonably well for the first 20, 25, 30 minutes perhaps. And it came from using this 3-4-3 formation, but actually quickly making a tactical tweak and moving shape. That shape involves Bruno Fernandes going into the solo pivot, Ugarte moving a little bit further forward, Xerxes sort of moving into this 10 role, and then Christian Eriksen moving to the left whilst the wing-backs push a little bit further forward. Now, you could call this a diamond shape in the middle here, but I would actually describe it more as a bit of a 3 at the back, then the solo pivot, and then almost a flat 3 in front of them. So it's sort of a 3-1-3-3 shape that we've got going on here. And this allowed United early on to overwhelm Fulham, particularly in the middle of the park, because United have 4 players here and Fulham only have 3. This means that you're going to cause some problems, particularly when Pereira actually moves into the front 2 like this to mark Bruno Fernandes. We're actually now 3 versus 2 in this situation, which means if United are intelligent with the movement, pass the ball well, there is going to be space somewhere. And early on, United were able to find this space. We can see the shape here. 4 players there. Like I said, it's not really a diamond. It is sort of a 1 and then a flat 3 in front of them. But what we can do in moments like this is get Bruno Fernandes in our solo pivot role, occupying the 2 Fulham forwards, but also here, 3 Manchester United players up against 2 Fulham players. Now, the reason that they've got so much room is because the Fulham wingers, rather than tucking narrow and defending the middle of the pitch, are actually staying a little bit wider to try and block our wing-backs. But like I said, that does mean we've got the 3 versus 2 in the middle, so if someone like Xerxes is intelligent with his movement, he can cause one of the midfielders to move with him into a moment like this. You can see as Xerxes moves deeper, the midfielder follows him, and it opens up all the space in the world for Christian Eriksen. Maguire is a player more than capable of playing these passes, and suddenly we're in a really good position here moving the ball forward. You can also see it in this situation here. This time, it's a bit more of the diamond shape, but the idea is the same. Bruno Fernandes, first of all, the wingers, again, wide once again, trying to block access to our wing-backs, but that's okay because we choose to go through the middle of the pitch. Bruno Fernandes, operating as the solo pivot, drags the Fulham player away, and we also see the movement from Xerxes. Again, 3 versus 2 in this situation. If the movement is sharp and good, there will be a way to progress the ball. Xerxes recognises this, he moves towards the ball, takes the Fulham player with him, and again, Christian Eriksen can receive the ball, time, space, turn forward, and play. This is good ball progression. This could also work the other way around as well, so rather than always Xerxes dropping deeper, making room for the others, sometimes the others could move to make room for Xerxes. And I'm talking particularly when Eriksen and Ugarte pull a little bit wider, stretch to double pivot, and now we can get access to Xerxes in the 10 spot. Xerxes is a player who plays with a bit of disguise to his game, so he can get on the ball, get on the turn, and then drive at the defence. And again, of course, we saw this, particularly in the first half, around the 20th minute here. This is United starting well and progressing the ball. We can see here for Fulham, the midfielders are too far apart. They're too far apart. That gives us access to Xerxes in the heart of the pitch, in the 10 position, where I think he's actually playing pretty well at the moment. So he picks the ball up, gets on the turn. He's got that quality. He can play on the turn. This, though, is where I have a tactical concern with United, but also a concern around the profiles that we are playing. Because this is, again, United progressing the ball well. So far, tactically, we've done good work. But as Xerxes gets his ball, plays on the turn, we progressed the ball well, good job. Look what's in front of him. Nothing. He's got Højlund in front of him, but in terms of immediate width, has he got wingers either side of him, occupying fullbacks? Someone he can hit early with the pass? Not really. And as we move this on just a couple of seconds, 2 seconds later, the players start to get forward. But if we look at the players, you've got Dalot, you've got Højlund, you've got Ugarte, and you've got Mazraoui. And if we think of football as a psychological game for a moment, you are the opposition defenders in this situation. Xerxes got on the turn, he's driving at your defence, you're scared for a second. Then you look around yourself, you assess, and you see Dalot, Højlund, Ugarte, Mazraoui running at you. All quality footballers, of course, in their own right. But are they players which really terrify you defensively? Are Fulham really scared in this situation with these players around them, compared to other clubs who may have certain midfielders bombing forward in these positions, more attack-minded midfielders, or wingers in the wide positions, or a more lethal striker? If we're talking purely about profile of player here, United are lacking any threat at all, and this was the real problem. When United were on top in the game, due to the tactical setup, they were on top, but then we actually lacked numbers on the last line to really trouble Fulham. And even when we did get numbers there, the quality's not there. The quality, and particularly attacking quality, is non-existent. So we move the ball forward well, but when we get here, who are we actually looking for to create the chances and score the goals? Realistically, it's always Bruno Fernandes, but he started the move as the single pivot, the solo pivot, playing as our deepest midfielder. It creates a real problem. So whilst there are those sparks, those signs of positivity, when it actually comes to trying to get goals, you know, the most important part of the game, we really don't have very much. Now, there is an argument still that this can work, right? Because we can't quickly attack, you know, we're struggling to quickly break teams down, or quickly fly in the attack, I should say. The other option is to slow right down and keep the ball. To have 60% possession, for example, try and wear a team down, wait for that space in the defence, and then go after them. That's absolutely fine. That is also an approach that can work. But in this game, United didn't get that. We only had 40% of the ball in this football match, 41% to be exact. That's an issue, because United attack slowly when they get the ball, but also don't have a lot of the ball. And this is the problem. Ruben Amorim wants control, and I think in possession, at times he has that. Defensively, though, there's still a real concern. Defensively, the concern ultimately is that it is still too passive for Manchester United. We far too often collapse into the back five, rather than going with a back four trying to get extra men further forward. Now, actually, immediately, that doesn't appear to be the case. We are defending with a back four initially. So let's say Anderson has the ball for Fulham. We're seeing United in a back four. It'll be Dalot, Yoro, Maguire and De Ligt across the back four in this particular match. Particularly when the ball is, let's say, here in the middle. We're then going to get Bruno Fernandes and Ugarte in the middle. Sometimes they sort of stagger into a diamond. Sometimes it's a flat 4-4-2. We've then got Mazraoui on the right, and that's important. Eriksen on the left, Xerxes and Højlund as a front two. In principle, there's nothing wrong with this. This is a 4-4-2 shape. The profiles aren't too bad, although Eriksen's not ideal here, and this probably isn't perfect. But we've got players in an okay position. We are in an area where we can now press and get some pressure on the ball. We've got 6 players here ready to go and match up with the Fulham 6. That's good. The problem is, the second that Fulham start to move the ball towards the other side, the shape starts to change, because what happens is the ball moves across the pitch. So Eriksen jogs across, Højlund jogs across, you know, Bruno jogs across, Ugarte here, Xerxes perhaps drops into midfield. That's all fine. But what happens in this moment is that Mazraoui, rather than tucking in as an extra midfielder on the side of the pitch here, or going higher on the press, he actually drops into the defensive line. So now very quickly we become a back five, which for me, we're doing it too early. We can do that on the last line when we're deep if we have to. But in this phase of the game, the ball is still in the Fulham half. I don't think we need to drop back to the back five so soon. Because what then happens is, when you play against a team with quality, which you so often do in English football, you know, Fulham are a very good side this season, they're going to have moments where they can keep the ball and sort of get the ball into this position here, playing around you. When they get the ball here, they then have so much room down here to move the ball across the pitch, because it's really passive from United. And now suddenly, Fulham gain territory so easily, because they pick the ball up here and can actually just walk forward because United are so passive. And particularly at Old Trafford, I don't think that's okay. United shouldn't, in these games, be having 40% of the ball against Fulham. Shouldn't be happening. Fulham are a good side, but this should not be the case. So you can see United here, initially in the 4-4-2, and as the ball comes across to the right-hand side, United start to shift across. So the ball comes out here to the right back. Look at Mazraoui in the top corner of the screen there. He's going to start going home. He's going to start going backwards. So it's 4-4-2 in this very moment. But if we fast forward just a couple of seconds, 2 seconds later, Mazraoui is no longer in the picture. Now we've only got 5 players in the press. So straight away we have 1 player less. Fulham in this moment show quality. They keep the ball in the middle of the park really well. They combine, find themselves out of trouble, move the ball across to the left-hand side. As the ball comes to the left-hand side, look at all the space. Manchester United are now so passive because we have collapsed into our back five. It's so easy now for Fulham to pick the ball up and just walk forward with the ball. And this was a real problem for United in this game, particularly when we then go 1-0 down as well later on in the match. If you're 1-0 down, but you physically can't get the ball back because you're so passive, how do you get back into the game? Apart from Bruno Fernandes, just moments of magic. This is the problem for United. We've got control on the ball, I feel. I think in possession we're doing alright at the moment. We're struggling to break teams down, create chances, of course. But in the terms of control, which Amorim strives for, I think we've got it. Defensively, we don't. Not even close to it. Because in these moments, it's so passive and you can pull our players out of position. De Ligt is now pulled out by Iwobi, which opens up this big space between Mazraoui and Maguire, and now that ball can go in between. Again, it's a problem with the structure as the ball gets moved across. The second, where is he? Robinson comes forward, Mazraoui gets dragged back with him. If Iwobi, the winger, now comes towards, the centre-back's being dragged into this position. That gap is too big. It is genuinely a real tactical concern at United at the moment. Now, you know, we have got to remember the players we've got currently. Amorim has spoken recently about how our centre-backs aren't as good defending open space. So perhaps that is why we feel the need always to collapse the extra wing-back into the back five. Perhaps that's why we do that. Maybe this is all a personnel thing, and in 6 months' time, with new players, it'll be sorted and we'll be fine. But I'm not convinced that is the case, unfortunately, right now. We have a real problem here, and I'll say it again. When you attack slowly, you know, you move slowly with the ball to try and get control. You attack slowly, but also don't have as much of the ball as the opposition. You're really going to struggle to hurt anyone, particularly when you also look at the starting 11. Not necessarily Amorim's fault, by the way, because the squad is poor. But you also haven't got players that can go take on someone 1v1. Where are the wingers in this team? There's none for United. Not a single winger on the pitch. That shouldn't happen at Manchester United. Some of that's on Ruben Amorim, some of that is on the squad building over the past few seasons, the form of players that have been at the club this season, injuries, all sorts of things. But it is really concerning. It wasn't a completely bad day for United, right? To go out on penalties is no big deal. It happens. Fulham are a good side. They are a better side than United this season. They just are. That's where we are. So it's not all bad. It's not tragic to go out to Fulham. There were positives like we spoke about at the start. But there's also real concerns here with how United break teams down and actually threaten teams, but also how we actually defend the game as well. The way we approach it just doesn't work for me at the moment. It's a problem for United. It's something that we need to figure out soon, realistically, because we're out of another competition. We've got the Premier League left, which realistically we're fighting for a spot in the top 12. And then Europa League, big pressure on Thursday's match. Things that need to improve. United need to carry more of a threat and have more control on football matches. If not, it's just not going to work. In terms of today's video, I think we're finished there because the rest of the problems that we saw in this game were pretty much the same as every other week. So I don't really think it's worth discussing. So we are going to wrap the video up there. Thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this match in the comments down below. What's the bigger issue at the moment? Is it that passive nature with how we defend? Or is it that lack of attacking threat? True, exciting attacking talents on the pitch. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we're finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.